All right, we are back. It's the Infowarrior with Jason Bermas. We are joined by Luke Radowski, founding member of wearechange.org, and now Manny Badillo, also of wearechange.org. How are you, Manny?
Hey, Jason, how are you? Awesome
I'm good.
To speak with you, and great to speak with you down in Austin. You're doing a great job. I listen to your show very often.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much. You know, for the people that may have missed my show last night, or what I was discussing earlier, why don't you just kind of step by step take us through this latest interview, if you will, with this senator out of New York, the woman who was appointed by Hillary Clinton after she left to become Secretary of State?
Actually, she was appointed by the governor, and so she did replace Hillary Clinton's seat. And I'll tell you, Luke and I, we're in the city often, and it's just really a matter of getting together and saying, hey, let's do this, make sure we have the equipment, the cameras. It's very easy. Luke and I met up in a town hall style meeting up at a place called Branch in Manhattan. And what we did is we, went in as press, sat down, both of us worked out some questions to ask her. And ultimately, Luke was holding that camera, and I was able to speak with the press, person, and what happened was that we were able to set up a very quick interview after the town hall question and answer session. So what happened was that, right after question and answers with the crowd of a good, few hundred were there, we were able to have a good 5 minutes, I'd say, with the new senator. And really, Jason, I mean, you've done similar work. So many of us that know about what really happened on 9/11 have done this. It's amazing to see what, the different groups are doing around the country and around the world. We are change. But ultimately, it was just a matter of being there, and thank goodness that we had this opportunity, because right now we have a senator speaking out and publicly on the record, speaking of the support for the family members, support for the first responders, and support for New Yorkers even that are looking for a new investigation, and that is huge.
Yeah, and prior to this conversation with yourself and Luke, she was already very well aware of the James Zadroga bill, in which the first responders may actually receive help some 8+ years later, Manny. And it's just insane to me that we are now almost a decade past 9/11. Not quite there yet. But if you would have told the average person, a day, a week, a month, a year after 9/11, that they were just going to leave these people out to dry and really out to die, you would have been laughed at. You would have said, they would never do this to our heroes, yet they've done it. And many people have lost their lives, and many people who have survived after being first responders don't have much of a life at all. I mean, they're in constant pain, they can't pay their bills, they're on disability, their families are feeling the impact of this, and they can't get any help from the federal government.
And that's amazing, because ultimately what it comes down to is these are gentlemen and women that went in well beyond the call of duty. I mean, I still speak with so many first responders. John Schroeder, still mentions, how he was going in there, taking, body parts out, in the days and weeks after 9/11. These are heroes that should have received so much in the form of care for their health and for their well-being, and they're not getting that. And what it comes down to? It comes down to people still speaking about that. And what we have right now is we have a senator from New York who is supporting that bill, the James Zadroga bill, and we have a senator from New York who also is coming out and speaking in support of the family members who the vast majority of questions were never answered, which then leads us to the question, well, what about a new investigation? And is it going to be public, privately funded? Ultimately what it comes down to is there has been a very public investigation going on since 9/11, a citizen's investigation. The entire world has been looking at the evidence. And what it comes down to is Senator Gillibrand, she really appreciated the very straightforward, comments and questions that I asked her. And, she ultimately we need to follow up with this. And
exactly. The next time she's
should,
out there speaking, somebody else has to take the ball and run with it. It's not just up to
exactly.
you and Luke and other members of wearechange.org. You don't have to be a member of We Are Change. You don't have to be part of a chapter to take control of your own life and share that with others. I mean, for me, the greatest weapon in this info war is to arm yourself with a camcorder. And ask an intelligent question. The more informed you are and the better you come across while you're asking that question, the better answer you're going to get from her or, any elected official or representative or, political figure out there. And you were actually able to put in her hands this latest paper from Stephen Jones and others, which discusses, unexploded thermite found in the dust of the World Trade Center.
And it's amazing, for politicians, okay, it's understandable, they can't, cover every subject. But what's amazing is that when you have politicians that are supporting first responders and the issues that they're facing right now, well, here you have a study that's come out. It has proven that there's unexploded material within the debris of the World Trade Center. This study is very intricate. It's peer-reviewed. It's refereed. This is the highest way you can go about scientifically proving something. And what happens now is that Senator Gillibrand, she's willing to look at that study. She is willing to look at the petition drive that's going on right now in New York City. But beyond that, she is willing to support the first responders and the family members in saying that every question that every family member had should be answered, and that's important.
Absolutely. So, Luke, Manny, what's next for wearechange.org? Like you said, almost every day a different chapter across the world is confronting somebody, asking somebody a tough question. Well, what's on you guys' plates? What are the main stories over at wearechange.org? And how can people get involved? Because I have so many people calling into this program and saying, how do I get involved? How do I make a difference? And I constantly give them the email address, dan@wearechange.org, and he's helped a number of my listeners start their own chapter or join an existing chapter.
We Are Change, we have a lot on our plate right now. We're working on 9/11/09 events for this year's 9/11 anniversaries. We are working on a full-fledged movie with never-before-seen confrontations, never-before-seen interviews with celebrities. We are working on a lot of things. And, we're just asking people to get involved and in their local community and do whatever they can for the right, for the positive. So we have a lot of things planned. We're always out there at Ground Zero every Saturday giving out thousands of flyers, and we're very, very busy.
Manny, what's on your plate? I mean, obviously, you put on a suit at these events. You have the microphone. You're well-spoken. You take charge. You ask tough questions. Do you just, plan on continuing to do this? I know you're a big weekend warrior out there in front of Ground Zero with the information, with DVDs. You are a, surviving family member of somebody you lost in the World Trade Center. I mean, you take that same attitude, one day at a time?
I take the attitude that the biggest impression that you are able to make with someone is to speak with them one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And what happens is, ultimately, people will always, judge that and say, hey, well, there's more effective ways of doing this. But all I know is this. When I'm able to speak with someone one-on-one down at Ground Zero, just this past Saturday, there was at least 10 hours worth of work. Mm-hmm. for the dedicated, We Are Change New York City members that were down there. We were at Ground Zero, we were at Times Square. I must have spoke with dozens and dozens of people, many from different parts of the world even. But ultimately, I know that the conversation, when it comes down to, the more emotional, the more serious questions, the questions about, hey, what about this, what about that? The one-on-one conversation is key. And if you have information that you can give them, I'm screaming it down Zero. I'm like, there's more information on this flyer than you've heard in 7 years. People look back like, what is he? What is that? This is it. This is where we are right now, and it's information. Knowledge is power, and we are empowering people with the ability to learn something that they didn't know before, and then it's empowering them to make better decisions later on. So I happen to think that this continues. This should continue, and it should not stop, and we should continue to confront not only our politicians, but community leaders and our